They are starting to realize that, guys, we can do whatever that we want to do, but it looks like our efforts will not be enough for us to take these people out. So we might as well work with them. If you cannot destroy them, you might as well work with them. I think this is the reason why the EFF and the DA have actually availed themselves to go into coalition with the ANC. Because when it comes to taking out the ANC completely, it's almost impossible at this point.
The 360 experience with Thomas M.
Big fan of polls. I think that history shows, especially as you get closer to the election, the polls get narrower. They get closer to where things
are truth.
To the truth, yeah. So I think where they are at the moment, that looks pretty representative of what I believe is going to happen. What I'm hearing on the ground is going to happen. Obviously, the big move below 50% is that 10%, 10.9% mark in Mkhonto weSizwe, the MK party. That you'd imagine just about all of those votes come straight out of off the ANC, if one could use.
So basically, they would have had 51%. If there was no MK.
It would have been somewhere there. But I use a measure that's always served me pretty well in gauging the temperature. And that is, you look at the poll in the last election or two and you say to yourself, has that party done well since that election, since that last election? If they've done well, then perhaps they'll go up. If they haven't done well, then they won't hold their support that they had in the last election. And I think that, by any measure, the ANC has done quite poorly since 2019. And, they have not really made any progress. The last local government election, which I know is not a general election, they polled 47%. So, and they haven't done well since then. Lackluster leadership, one scandal after the other. This doesn't surprise me at all, and it's more or less in line with the thinking that I've had on this topic.
Guys, the idea that South Africans are going to vote different because the ANC has been performing badly, I don't know where these people actually get this idea. You look at how South Africans have been voting throughout the years. What actually makes people think that the poor black people of this country are going to vote different this time around? What actually makes people think that majority of poor black people in this country, majority of the people in the country which are poor black people in this country, what actually makes people think that these people are going to vote different this time around? South Africans have been voting for corruption since 1994. South Africans have been voting for broken down state-owned entities since 1994. South Africans have been voting for crime since 1994. South Africans have been voting for incompetent ministers since 1994. So what actually makes people think that in 2024 South Africans are going to vote any different? You look at the presidency of Ramaphosa. The presidency of Ramaphosa, everything that the presidency of Ramaphosa is going through is the same thing that the presidency of Jacob Zuma went through. But for some reason, people still voted for the ANC. So the notion that the ANC has been performing badly, and this is the reason why people are going to vote different, where do these people get this idea from? Where do these people get this idea from? If South Africans actually gave Jacob Zuma 2 terms, despite everything that Jacob Zuma did, what makes these people think that the South Africans are not going to vote for President Ramaphosa? If South Africans continue to vote for Jacob Zuma, if South Africans continue to vote for incompetent ministers under Jacob Zuma's presidency, what makes people think that this time around the South Africans are going to vote any different? You see these people that are conducting the polls, I am honestly starting to believe that these people are not being fair and honest with the people on the ground. I'm starting to believe that these people that are conducting the polls are being political themselves, because what they are saying, it is not reflective of what is happening on the ground. You look at the ANC's campaign trail, guys, for the longest time, people actually said that the ANC is going to get less than 50%. People have actually said that the South Africans are rejecting the African National Congress. So I waited for the ANC to start campaigning so that I can witness it myself, people rejecting the African National Congress. And guys, I am sad to say that people still supported the African National Congress. Majority of the voters in the country, they still supported the African National Congress despite everything that the party has done. Despite everything that the party has done. So what actually makes people think that people are going to say, no, we are sick and tired of the corrupt ministers, we are sick and tired of all this crime that is taking place, we are sick and tired of unemployment rate? What makes people think that majority of the voters today are going to consider all of those things before they go to the polls? The people have not been considerate of all of those things before they went to the polls. What makes them think that in 2024, this is the time where South Africans are going to vote different? I honestly do not believe that majority of poor black people in this country today are going to vote any different. I do not believe so. I do not believe so. I stand here to be corrected, but I do not believe that the majority of poor black people in South Africa are going to vote different, because the majority of poor black people in South Africa, they have not rejected the ANC. You look at the campaign trail of the ANC, people still supported the ANC despite everything that the ANC has done. People still support the ANC. For the longest time, we have been bashing the opposition parties for actually failing to take the fight from the African National Congress. We said, guys, the ANC has given you the material on a silver plate to take them out. But you guys have actually failed to take the ANC to task. There is not a single political party right now in the country that is competing with the ANC. Even in terms of mass appearance, there is not a single political party in the country right now that is taking the fight from the ANC. Not a single party. This is the reason why I have been saying for the longest time that we have the weakest opposition parties in the country, in the world, I think. South Africa, we have the weakest opposition parties because these people are honestly failing to take the ANC to task with everything that the ANC has done, with track record of corruption for the past 30 years, with a track record of state-owned entities, track record of crime, track record of corrupt ministers. These people have actually failed to take the fight from the ANC. Guys, maybe I'm not being optimistic. Maybe I'm not being optimistic. But I honestly do not believe that majority of the people in this country are going to vote different in 2024. I was one of those people who actually believed that the ANC is going to get less than 50%. Like I strongly believed that the ANC is going to get less than 50%. And these people started campaigning. These people started filling out arenas. These people started filling out stadiums. These people started painting the towns yellow everywhere they go. And I said, whoa, South Africans still support the African National Congress. South Africans still support the African National Congress. This is the reason why everywhere where Ramaphosa goes, he will tell you that the people of this country still love the African National Congress. Do not listen to all of these people telling you that majority of poor black people in this country, they hate the ANC. Majority of poor black people in this country, they still love the African National Congress. They love it when the ANC lies to them. They love it when the ANC comes to them and gives them empty promises. This is what they enjoy. They do not want change, because if South Africans wanted change, they could have voted out the ANC a long time ago. The fact that today we still have the ANC and the strong ANC in the country, it shows you that South Africans have not even considered voting any different. Man, the ANC started campaigning, man. The ANC started campaigning. The support that these people are getting on the ground, guys, it is not something to laugh with. These people are getting huge support. ANC is getting a lot of support on the ground. I honestly thought that this time around, people are sick and tired of the ANC. I was one of those people who actually thought that this time around, people are sick and tired of the ANC. But when these people started campaigning, I said, man, there is a long way to go for us. There is a long way to go. We are not going to get rid of the ANC anytime soon. We are going to get rid of the ANC, but not anytime soon. We are going to get rid of these people, but not anytime soon. And I think this is the reason why political parties like the DA and the EFF are availing themselves to the possible coalition of the ANC, because they are starting to realize that, guys, we can do whatever that we want to do, but it looks like our efforts will not be enough for us to take these people out. So we might as well work with them. If you cannot destroy them, you might as well work with them. I think this is the reason why the EFF and the DA have actually availed themselves to go into coalition with the ANC. Because when it comes to taking out the ANC completely, it's almost impossible at this point.
Navari, you share those sentiments?
No, look,
Looks like your colleagues have already written your...
I really think that they're quite a bit sensational.
What is sensational? The poll?
The polls, yeah. I don't think that they are reflective of the reality. If you have to have looked at the recent past, how the president has been accepted in KwaZulu-Natal by a huge number of people. If you check the last week when he was in Gauteng, the huge crowds were following him. I think what South Africans normally do, and this is a noisy urban population.
And guys, this is what I'm talking about. The amount of people that are following President Ramaphosa. This is what I am worried about. The fact that Ramaphosa is still being followed by thousands and thousands of people wherever he goes. This is why I am worried about the African National Congress. Because nothing on the ground is actually reflective of what these people are saying on the polls. Nothing is like that.
The president has been accepted in KwaZulu-Natal by a huge number of people. If you check the last week when he was in Gauteng, the huge crowds were following him. I think what South Africans normally do, and this is a noisy urban population, which is quite on Twitter, they are quite on a lot of social media spaces. They speak a lot, but they don't speak in behalf of the voters. And they always say we when they speak. And I don't think that they speak on behalf of South Africans. South Africans are quite very, well, disappointed in larger extent, but I think they're still confident that the ANC can deliver better life for all. You know why? It's because it has been tried and tested over a period of time. It's not equivalent to run a spaza shop to run a country.
Okay.
Remember, we're at a point of 2 years lockdown at COVID. Now the economy is rising back to the post-COVID standing. And there are a lot of people who are coming back to work. If you look at the areas, rural areas, I am from rural areas. Where I used to go to school, I used to walk 10 kilometers. Today, I've got 3 secondary schools within the 50-meter radius, 2 primary schools. So our kids don't cross the river anymore where I come from. I've got electricity now at home. And I always used to walk in the dark at night. I've never seen that. These are people from rural areas who know what the ANC does for them. To just brush it off by a polls like that, I don't think that it will be possible.
All right.
Before you come in, but also if you look at the trend, and I think I like the input of the local government aspect. If you look at the trend since 1994, the number of local government are not normally equivalent to the number of national elections.
I was going to say, how do you explain the 45%? If you're talking about increased confidence and so on, don't you think that 45% was a warning shot by the public to the ANC?
No, the turnout in local government is always very low. And we've always got lower number. I don't remember ANC getting more than 50-something% in local government over a period of time. It's quite difficult. If you did, it was 50, 51, 52. So it's not a measure for national election. Yeah. But also if you look at the trend of how the ANC has been going down, it can't be more than 10%.
I mean at the time?
No, over a period of time. I mean, this should be scientific. I mean, we can't use common sense to determine the outcome of election. We have a reference that we can use. So even if the ANC goes down, which it might not, it will surprise many actually, it will be within the region of 55% in this coming election. I don't think that...
You know, guys, this gentleman has actually raised an important point that we are here on social media, so we are here on YouTube, we are here on social media, but majority of the people on the ground, they cannot afford being on social media. What has been said on social media, does not reflect what actually goes on the ground. The people who are talking about change, the people who are sick and tired about the African National Congress, there's a minority of them. It is a minority. But when you look at the majority of the people that are voting in the country, there are people that you will not find them on social media. Majority of South Africans cannot even afford being on social media. They cannot afford the internet. So what you see on the internet is not what is happening on the ground. And I think this is something that we really need to actually take into consideration when we deliberate these things. that we can talk about these things. If you are on social media, you would actually think that the ANC would lose power today and the EFF would be the government tomorrow. You know, this is the reason why they say that the EFF always wins the elections on social media. But when it's election time, the EFF does not perform the way people actually expected it to perform. This is what we are talking about. What is happening on social media is just not what is happening on the ground. This is the reason I'm saying when you watch the news, when you watch these polls, when you listen to political analysts, you would actually believe that the South Africans are sick and tired of the ANC. But you look at the ANC and you look at the campaign trail of the ANC and you can see that majority of poor black people on the ground, they still love the African National Congress.
Do you agree with
Less
that?
than 50%.
That your assessments may not be based on the ground reality? Because he's saying, if you look at what basic things have been delivered to rural communities,
Yes.
they may simply not be worried about your sophistication.
Yes.
They may just be worried about the fact that I didn't have water, I have water now. I didn't have a roof, I have a roof over my head now.
Yes. I think it goes back to what I said in the initial comment, to say a lot of us are sick and tired, but some of us are not sick and tired enough. And the examples that he mentioned make sense. You know, when you look at electricity and you consider, I didn't have electricity so many years ago. We now have 3 schools. Before we didn't have these schools. I think in the lives of certain citizens, the standard is so low that the poor performance of the ANC, the incompetence of the ANC, the corruption of the ANC goes, you know, it goes unnoticed. Yeah, they're stealing, but at least I have some water.
Yes.
Yeah, they're stealing, but at least I have 1 school. But do you know that you should have 10 more schools? Do you know that these schools that you have, that you're so happy about, is so low standard that even after your child is out of the school, they don't stand a chance in the competition of the world. So I think that standard is so low that a lot of our people see good in somebody that they should be booting out.
I don't.
Exactly. Katla was telling the truth. That people are so happy with the bare minimum that the ANC is giving to them. That's why people will tell you that as long as I get my social grants, I don't care if these people are stealing. That's why you will find people on the ground, the people that are not getting the services, saying that, man, the ANC, yeah, of course, everybody steals, but the ANC needs to make sure that they steal nicely, man. They don't steal a lot. People are actually not upset with the fact that the ANC is stealing from them. People are not upset with the fact that the ANC is not delivering what they are supposed to deliver to them. As long as they get their bare minimum, they are okay with everything that the ANC has been doing. They are okay with everything that the ANC has been doing. So this is the reason why this message of the African National Congress, it is so strong. Of look at what we have done since 1994. This message is so strong. Because to the people that are, maybe to the people that are the middle class, they would actually say that, oh, no, we don't want to hear any of that. But when you go to the poor people and say, guys, can you please look at what we have done for you since 1994? You didn't have that house. You have that RDP house. You didn't have running water. You have running water. You didn't have electricity. You have electricity. People actually value those things. People value those things. Just like she's saying right now, you were supposed to have 10 schools, but people are happy with 3 schools, and people are not going to punish the ANC simply because the ANC has given them 3 schools. People are happy with the bare minimum that the ANC is giving to them. This is the problem that we are facing as South Africans right now. And this is the reason why, again, that message of Ramaphosa, it is so strong that if you don't vote for us, you are going to lose the social grants. That message, it is so strong and it is resonating with the people on the ground that I do not want to lose my social grants. If I vote for another political party, what if I lose my 350? So I am not going to vote for another political party. I will continue voting for the ANC simply because of my 350. I will continue voting for the ANC simply because of the child support grant. I will continue voting for the ANC simply because of the pension that my grandmother is getting. People are happy with the bare minimum that the ANC is giving to them. They are not looking at the picture they are not holistically looking at the picture. Katla is telling the truth. The standards is so low amongst our people that they would accept the bare minimum instead of saying, guys, you could have done more. We know that you have built 3 schools, but we need you to build 10 more schools. We know that you built 2 clinics, but you could have built like 15 clinics. No, people are, as long as you have built something for them, people value that. And this is the reason why this message of the ANC is resonating with the people on the ground. Look at what we have done since 1994. Do not look at the past 5 years of Ramaphosa's presidency. No, do not judge the ANC based on Ramaphosa's past 5 years. Look at what the party has done since 1994. And this message resonates with the people on the ground.
I don't agree.
So
JJ.
okay, hang on, let me just get,
agree.
Mike, do you agree with that the standard, the bar has been set low,
Yeah.
so low that it can even itself, as low as it is, be used as something of self-praise by the ANC?
Yeah, and that's why, when President Ramaphosa started his campaign, which was at his State of the Nation speech, he started off by talking about the changes over 30 years, not over the last 5.
Yeah.
Exactly, man, exactly.
Which is what he should have been speaking about. But to pick up on a point that Katlego made, which I think is important, and that is, if you give somebody something, people are grateful for it. So sure, those people that didn't have electricity and now have electricity are grateful for it. But if you give somebody something and then later take it away from them, it makes them twice as angry as they were when they didn't have it. And that's what we've got, for example, with load shedding. People get accustomed to having electricity. Now you're only giving electricity sometimes. We've got the similar thing with water. We've got a similar thing with potholed roads.
All right, before I go to a break, I want Navar to just respond to that issue about the standard, because there's always this thing that says,
Man, when it comes to load shedding, I don't know where Mike Shem actually chills. But when it comes to load shedding, the people on the ground, the people in the townships, they have gotten used to load shedding. The people on the ground, they have gotten used to load shedding. That's why people will tell you that my favorite schedule is from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. My favorite schedule is from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. People have gotten used to load shedding. You would actually think that South Africans would not get used to load shedding, but people have actually gotten used to load shedding. That's why today people have their favorite schedules. I remember saying that the political parties right now in the country, they cannot even campaign with load shedding because people are used to load shedding. People will not vote for another political party simply because that political party promises to fix ESCOM. They don't care about load shedding. They know that we have electricity. We know that, okay, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., the electricity will be out. People do not have problem with that. That's why even right now we are facing the problems with water. Still the same thing. People on the townships, people on the informal settlements, we have gotten used to some of these things. Who would have thought that South Africans would actually get used to load shedding? But people have gotten used to it.
things are better since 94.
Yeah, I want to
there's
ask
always
Katlego
going
to
back to
respond.
94, almost comparing the ANC today with the
Yeah.
apartheid government that didn't care about us in
Quite sad
1993.
that black people think in this fashion. It's quite very disturbing, actually, because she must tell us which she's comparing the ANC with what. Well, that's a very important question. Look, and then she speak about low quality, and I don't agree with that low quality aspect because, I mean, that's generalization, to be honest with you. If you go to the Stats SA outcome, it will tell you that for the first time, South Africans, 98% of South Africans have infrastructure of piped water. Piped water. It might not be going out. Fair. That we can discuss the reasoning behind it. 96% of 98% of South Africans have electricity today. That can't be less quality. That's what defines the standard of living. So I'm just saying, so let's not just have a generalization when we deal with this. Let's get specifics and say, no, in this area, this has been done. Let's use a complementary contradictory approach because we can't say there's nothing has been done.
No.
But again, we don't have to compare the ANC with anything. We know that people were supposed to be serviced better. This is what Kata was saying. We don't have to compare it with anything. We don't have to compare it with anything. We simply have to say that all of these things that the ANC is doing, they could do better.
To me, that is quite very, very problematic. But the point I'm trying to drive through is that even this notion of quality is relative.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's deal with it fundamentally in terms of the approach
you
that
don't
we
agree
use.
that our education system is objectively not qualitative. When I say objectively, I'm saying you've conducted surveys, international surveys that says our kids can read or write. In fact, it's some in the manifesto, some parties saying we need to make sure that our grade 4s and 5s can read and write for meaning. That's a very serious indictment.
Quite very important. That's why the ANC
Section
now
27 has come up with a report that shows you the dilapidated schools. Actually, in KZN, they banned down 140 schools. That just for good measure, right? But you're talking about kids who are still studying under trees or mobile units, etc. So would that be the quality you're talking about, in that, yes, you can tick a box that says there are schools, but when you zone in, you have schools that don't have libraries. In fact, I think some 70% of schools don't have a library. I don't know. I don't know whether that's still the case, because that may be an old statistic. No laboratories. And that's part of what justifies why you have two parallel systems of examination. Comment on that?
Yeah. So just for clarity, I did not say that they have not done anything, because they have done some things.
A lot.
Yes.
Just say a lot, yeah.
Let's just
Something.
say they've done a lot, but that lot is not enough. And compared to what? Let's not even go internationally. Let's just compare within South Africa. Let's compare our public schools to our private schools. Let's compare the education level there. Let's compare the number of teachers there. Let's compare the infrastructure, the libraries, the labs, the ability for children to read, to do their mathematics with understanding, to calculate and to read. Let's compare at the final year, grade 12 student in public school, grade 12 student in private school. The chances of the private school child getting a bursary because they were helped, because they were given the resources, right, is higher. And I know that even in public schools they do get bursaries, right, but it's just so much harder for that child to get it. The exposure to the various programs that are out there, to the various careers that the children can be exposed to. I don't think our public school children get that, and that is so unfair.
Okay.
And there are other things.
But if we are being honest, you cannot speak for our public schools, man. I know that this gentleman is trying to protect the ANC, but you cannot speak for our public schools. Our public schools are a mess. First of all, we need to get rid of NG Motshekga so that we can get rid of this 30%. I think 30% to start with is nonsense. We need to get rid of that. So our public schools are nonsense. The fact that our children cannot read or write, and they cannot read for understanding, it is a concern. So this gentleman must simply say, okay, you have made your point. It is fine.
Come into this point, because I think this is an argument from a point of privilege.
Wait, I need to take a break. It's getting heated out here at Power to Truth. It's all of this is Tinigo, tonight here on Power to Truth. An election special of Citizen Roundtable tonight, as the citizens are taking each other on, and the backdrop of those polls that are beginning to speculate essentially about how the election outcome will be like. Do you wanted to quickly respond before I give Mike a chance?
Yeah, just quickly to respond to Katlego, and we discussed it. I mean, she argues from the point of privilege, and it's quite fair because of probably the social standing in society. There's no way anywhere in the world where you can compare public and private education system, and for obvious reasons. That government run the biggest public education system ever in South Africa. Kids who go to public school, many of them are coming from a very poor background. They don't pay tuitions, don't pay school fees. And there's a reason why they don't do it. There's a historical context to that. And I can't dwell into it because we're going to spend much time discussing that. But secondly is that...
And I think, again, we need to look at why do children who go to public schools come from a poor background? Why are the parents of these children are not working? Because you also have to link that with African National Congress. You also have to link that with African National Congress. People are taking their children to public schools because they cannot afford to take their children to private schools, because most of the time these people are unemployed. So you have to link that with African National Congress and them failing to create a conducive environment so that these people can find an employment so that they can take their children to better schools. So you have to link that with the ANC.
Even if you check the private education system, I know Kuro, for instance. People take kids to Kuro, and many of them are not really even comparable speaking with people who come from Mbiru school, for instance, in a rural deep Limpopo, who actually do well in maths and science, who even compete toe-to-toe with people who come from private school. So private school is more about money expenditure that parents do invest on their children's education, but doesn't negate the fact that there are quality public institutions, public schools that produce the best of the learners in this country.
Yeah.
In fact, the public service in this country, including private, is created by the public school. So
Yeah.
this notion that there's a difference in terms of education system,
wait,
it's not there. It's a myth that we must debunk.
Yeah,
To be
no,
fair.
no, no. We can debunk it. Mike, can you just weigh in on that? I mean, surely there is a problem with our education system, despite that it's the highest budget item on the national budget.
Yeah.
If you look at the concoction of things from, poor environment, poor security, poor facilities, the schools that don't even have a football pitch in front of them, a football pitch is literally grass.
And whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Because you see these people like that are always speaking on behalf of the ANC. They always pretend like it is impossible for the ANC to actually provide the public schools with all of these things that are needed. Whose fault is it? Because if you live in the townships, you know that most of the schools in the townships, they do not even have the football fields. Most of the schools in townships, they do not have the libraries, they do not have the laboratories. And whose fault is it that these schools do not have all of these things? Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it?
They don't have it. They have to, walk on stones, right? Now that can't be, there can't be an excuse for such a thing.
Yeah, and we haven't even touched on the very emotional issue of children dying in pit latrines. That's obviously something that will always set back an incumbent government when that kind of things happened after it's been promised for years that it would be attended to.
They'll get rid of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a standing state of a nation promise. We're going to get rid of pit latrines.
Yeah, but I think there's two aspects here. One, of course, has been the absolute protection, if we're talking education, of the SA Democratic Teachers Union, which has held the education system hostage for 30 years. They don't want teachers to be assessed. They don't want, there's been every progress.
Is that a fact? SATU doesn't want teachers assessed.
They do. They don't want inspectors in schools. They have consistently fought against having inspectors in schools. That's why we don't have inspectors in schools. It's another election issue which has sort of fallen off the bandwagon.
Yeah.
But just in general, I think there's another issue that has to be mentioned, and it hasn't been mentioned yet, and that is South Africa has some of the highest rates of tax. And all of our citizens are paying tax. It's not just the elite. You go, you're going to pay, what have we got, VAT now at 15% every time you buy a chocolate at a shop. Every time you buy just about anything in your basket, you're giving money to the government.
Yes.
And money is given to the government in good faith that they're going to deliver on what they have said they're going to deliver.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And every year we've got these issues. You've got this massive budget for education, a massive budget for safety and security, a massive budget for roads and infrastructure. And I don't have to tell you how this story ends, because we live this nightmare every day. 80 people get murdered every day in South Africa. We took Israel to the ICJ because 20,000 people had been killed at that point. Well, 30,000 people are going to get killed this year. Who's going to take our Minister of Police to the ICJ? These are the issues that the government seems to be completely tone deaf. And that's why I'd be surprised that to see that they're still getting 40%. But it is, to Mr. Navari's point, that person is very excited because they've got one tap.
Yes.
As we saw the president watching a tap open in a village. That tap is great. The villagers are grateful for the one tap. But to
There's
your point,
more.
Katleho, they should have known that there was money set aside for taps in every house. Instead,
Years
we got
ago.
the president excited about opening one tap.
It sounds.
Exactly. I mean, this is the reason why I am getting frustrated with this guy, because he is pretending like the ANC do not have the choice but to give people these kind of things. He's pretending like the ANC do not have a choice but to give poor people these kind of schools, because we have budgets for all of these things. Why do children still die in the pit toilets today? We have children that are still dying in the pit toilets today. You see what is happening in the Eastern Cape. The children are crossing the rivers to go to school. They were not even supposed to cross these rivers to go to school. Where is the budget for the bridges? Where is the budget for these children to have proper schools? he is acting like the government do not have the choice but to give the poor people of this country these kind of services. But there is a budget for all of these things. Where is that money going to? Where is that money going to?
Oh, but it sounds, you see, that's what I'm
Horrific,
saying.
Navari.
But it's just quite too sensational. And I think that's a problem I have with South Africans.
Yeah.
That's why we can't pursue anything and conclusively deal with it, because we're always sensational. I want to give you a classical example of the Guyana project, for instance. And I know many people have been making noise about it.
Yeah.
Delayed for many years.
Yeah, for over a decade.
Yes, I agree with you. Many problems there.
Yeah.
But you see what has been delaying it now since 2021 is that the Minister of Water and Sanitation was very clear. I'm not going to deliver bulk from Nandoni to Mtsami and not deliver taps in the houses. And there's a statistic about how ANC government have been doing that. I'm saying go and read Stats SA and the outcome of it. You can then know that one tap.
That minister is contradicting the government because it's been the same government. So you talk
it's not
about, it was a fresh party that came and said these guys are doing a wrong thing.
No.
They don't want taps.
You see the problem that, and I can tell in many issues that we are dealing with here, was stuck on the pre-Ramaphosa's era. And we don't agree with the fact that there's been a period.
But Ramaphosa didn't fall from the sky.
Wait, JJ. Don't interject me. Let me explain.
No, you'll interject that. You'll interject that. It's a debate.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to do is that I want to display the fact that when we argue, in many instances, we don't use facts. You argue out of sensationalization. And
like what? Give us something else of the
about
fact.
the tap that the president had opened.
Yeah, he did open a tap.
No, that tap is part of the taps that I saw with my own eyes of the area in that deep rural areas. No government has ever done that. Which the ANC government
but it's only been the ANC government
delivered to the rural deep area.
But there's only been the ANC government. There's only been the ANC government. So what are you talking about?
Which the ANC government
but it's only been the ANC government
delivered to the rural deep areas, a tap in the house. I'm saying there's a statistic South Africa. If we doubt that, it's fine. That it's saying 98% of South Africans now have access to clean water.
Yeah.
And the tap is a decision that the ANC government has took, that we don't only deliver bulk from national space. We're not going to deliver taps.
So the tap is in the yard.
Yes, in the yard.
Yeah, okay.
Go to the.
I mean, like, this is the reason why Kato was talking about the standards and standard being so low. I mean, like, you think about all of these things that this person is so proud of that the ANC has actually done. But the ANC has been in power for the past 30 years. So are you telling me that those people, they haven't had taps for the past 30 years? Only Ramaphosa now had to come and open up their taps. What about the previous administrations of the ANC? Why hasn't the previous administrations of the ANC done anything for these people? This is the reason why, again, we are talking about the pit toilets.
We can take a drive to Guyana when you're not working, JJ. You will see that a deep rural village, even where I come from, I've got a tap now. A deep rural village has a tap.
But why are you saying
as if
but
this aspect that the president was opening a tap.
Yeah.
You can't open 20,000 of them in the same time. It's a display of that water is coming out in the village. I mean, you want us to open, the president must open all the tap, water must go out. I mean, how do you do that? Let's just get real in our argument.
You want us to celebrate and clap hands for the president for having tabs, be it 10 or 10,000 tabs, when he's had 30 years, maybe not him particularly, but the ANC. It seems to me like you want us to celebrate things that should have been there. The minute they got into power, they should have prioritized giving us tabs, giving us electricity, giving us education, and all the things that we didn't have before 1994.
So she's not listening to me. I'm saying let her read, because you see, reading is important. Don't argue in common sense here. And I know that this is a general thing, because people like this sensationalization. They like this noise. I'm saying go and read Stats SA.
Please,
outcome of the delivery of ANC government in 30 years with regard to just two basic things, water and electricity. Fundamental, those two things. I can even go deeper into certain aspects.
Navari, don't go deeper for now. I just want Mike to comment on here. At the back of that comment, the Auditor General, in 3 successive reports, right? And this comes to the issue about quantity versus quality. In 3 successive reports said that 50% of municipalities don't have a water management plan. And 49% don't have a sanitation plan. Now that's a disaster. Okay, because that's what causes Hammanskraal. where people are dying. There's water, but it's deadly. That the CSIR has said this water is not fit for human consumption. So I just want us to be on the same page about the fact that you can't say nothing has been done, but what is done is not enough. Mike?
Yeah, I think, JJ, we are ahead of an election. The ANC is polling really low. And what many of the citizens out there, including us, are hearing is, but we're on it. Just give us another 30 years.
Yeah.
We are saying we haven't progressed far enough, fast enough to Katlego's points. We could have been way ahead. This has affected every part of South African life.
Yeah.
And, we've got an economy that can't grow because we can't grow without electricity.
Yeah. Well, what do you think the ANC got right? And Navari, what do you think the ANC got wrong? Start.
Hard to see. You got to say got right.
In 30 years, so they must have gotten something right. Where you say, here it's well done, man. You've done well. You've built stadiums, for example.
I mean, guys, what is it that the ANC has done right in the past 30 years? I'm trying to think of what the ANC has done right in the past 30 years. What is it that the ANC has nailed in the past 30 years? Because we are talking about the ANC giving people water, but right now people are getting dirty water from their taps. So you could actually say that the ANC has successfully delivered water to the people, but the people are getting dirty water. So this is not something to be proud about. You can say that the ANC has actually given people the electricity, but now people have load shedding. So this is something that we cannot be proud about. So what is it exactly that the ANC has nailed in the past 30 years? But for me, I will say that, man, pinning the people of this country against each other, playing the identity politics and racial politics, this is what the ANC actually excels in. This is what they excels in, because everything that they have done for the people, right now they are destroying it. They have built the schools, but after building the schools, you are giving the children 30% and this nonsense education system. What's the point of building beautiful schools around the townships and giving the children 30%? What is the purpose? What is the purpose?
You say, here it's well done, man. You've done well. You've built stadiums, for example. Beautiful international stadiums that can generate jobs. You have increased the tourism rate. This country used to have 900,000 tourists. It has 11 million a year. I'm just picking two that I can remember. Is there anything that occurs to you that has happened in 30 years that you think at least this was done right?
No, I can't. I literally cannot think of anything that was done right in terms of bang for buck. The job that they were voted in to do, the money that they had to do it with.
But I gave you two examples of tourism. For every 8 tourists, there's one job.
Okay, so let's talk about tourism.
Yeah.
Is tourism driven by the state or is tourism driven by the private sector?
But it's a partnership.
It seems to me, okay, so what has been government's role in there? The airline doesn't work. Security is terrible.
The airline thing is recent. The SAA has been working for 190 years.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that in terms of what the government has done towards building that figure, you've got crime through the roof. You've got an airline that doesn't work. You've got home affairs that can't process visas. You've got a failure at just about everything. In actual fact, I turn that statement around and say that our tourism numbers are up despite government, not because of government.
Okay, now I'm not winning with you. Navarro, what do you think? What do you think the ANC got wrong? Because you seem to, have long praise singing about what they've done. Surely, if you analyze, you'll be able to say, here we got something wrong. What is that?
I'm a very active citizen.
Yeah.
And actually, I go throughout the country, seeing the reality and the challenges of our people. One thing that I can speak even with my comrades, and I tell them this every day. And I think at some point in our show, I spoke about it with you. Remember these words. I say, if we were to get South Africa working, the economy working, we need to get the local government right.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the ANC did well there. And
on local government.
Government. And
where they lost all the metros the last time around.
I want to explain why they've not done so well. And I know that it can be viewed as politicking. I don't think that there was an understanding that the local sphere of government is the most important sphere of government, more than the national government, provincial government.
So you,
In terms of investment-
you deployed poor comrades there and deployed the best ones at national and
Exactly,
province.
exactly. I don't think the best of our cadres are in local government.
But do you think that the ANC has the best cadres anywhere else? Because the ANC has corrupt and incompetent cadres in the local government, and the same thing on the national government. So we cannot sit here and pretend like the people that are working for the ANC on the national government are people who are competent, are people who know exactly what they are doing, and the people that are working for the ANC on the local government are the people that do not know what they are doing. The ANC cadres are the same from the local government up to the national government. They are the same. They are incompetent. They are corrupt. All of these guys are the same. So there is no difference between the ANC on the local government and on the national level.
I don't think the best of our skills are in local government. Like he said, which I want to agree
Where are
with
the
you.
best of
Where
the
are
cadres?
they?
Where are they?
No, the
With the
cadres,
good
I'm not referring to
cadres
members of the
running
ANC. No, I know that the cadre is a very strong word, and many people think that we are referring to ANC. Cadre, I mean that people who work in the,
Okay,
in the
so
state
where
itself.
were these good cadres? Were they running Transnet or Eskom or SAA?
No,
Where were these good
Mike.
cadres?
Let
The
me
ones-
explain to you. Because, you know, you like to be general in a discussion. I'm saying in terms of the delivery of services, local government, that's the point we're dealing with now. Local government is the most important sphere of government. And when I travel around the country, for instance, I went to one municipality where we found out there was no single water engineer in that municipality, and it's a water service authority. That can't be correct, because water is life. Water is the basic service that people must get. And that's the reason why, in my view, we have lack of infrastructure maintenance in the local government. And I'm saying the ANC has not done well there.
Yeah.
And I think even when the ANC sit, I'm not defending the ANC. I'm saying when the ANC sit, I'm sure they discuss local government every
Yeah,
day.
Katao,
So
quickly.
are you saying that the best are in the national government?
That's not my point.
No, but this is my question.
Okay. I'm saying the best of our cadres in political leadership positions
Yes.
are in the provincial and national government. I can tell you that.
And the
Where? Do you agree with that statement, guys? Do you agree with it?
this is the best that they can do right now.
Yes.
The infrastructure, the state of infrastructure right
No,
now.
that's
the
another
best.
discussion. You see,
No,
don't
sir,
conflate discussions. That's
Please
the problem.
answer the question that I'm asking you. If
Yeah.
you are saying that at national level we have the best of the ANC, and this is the status of the potholes, of the infrastructure, of the hospitals, of the schools, that is the best that the ANC can
So
do.
if you listen to me, you'll have listened
Please
to me
answer
properly.
my question.
Yes, I want to explain to you. Local government, okay, the water crisis in Johannesburg is not a national government. It's a matter of Johannesburg. The water crisis in Tshwane is not national government.
So
Alright,
what,
So let
what
me
have the
explain to you.
best
Take a
done?
break.
What have the best
No,
done?
wait, but there's legislations and rules in this country. Don't
Guys,
just
sorry,
run
I have
all
to
over.
take a break. After the break, I want us to zone in.
But JJ Tabane, I mean, why are you stopping Katlego from pressing that guy? Because he needs to answer. Because if he says that the ANC has not been able to deploy the best guys on the local government, so he needs to tell us where these people are. Because we see the infrastructure, we see the hospitals, we see everything that is happening in the country. So where are the best cadres of the ANC? If this guy says that the people that have been deployed on the local government are not the best, is he insinuating that the people that are best are in the national government? So if these people are the best in the national government, is this the best that they can do for the people of this country? So why is JJ Tabane stopping Katlego from pressing this guy about this point? Why did you stop her? Because I was also curious to understand what is it exactly is he trying to say? Because he's trying to portray it as if on local government we have the worst people. So he's basically insinuating that on the provincial and on the national level we have the best people, but we can see the problems that the country is facing. So the question that Katlego is asking is, where are these people? Where are they? Where are they? Is this the best that they can give to us? Come on.
On the issue of jobs and the economy, right? But also start talking about what are the alternatives. Do you guys see any alternative? I want you to analyze, take your, your usual head off and just say, all right, let's say the ANC gets 30, right? Who's going to be the alternative? And let's look at those the polls again and see whether or not the number of parties that are there are offering any solutions, and we can zone in on jobs and the economy as a measure of saying this can be the alternative. It's Power to Truth. We are here every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. speaking truth to power and conducting conversations that build. Citizens tonight have their say across all political issues. Let's talk. I want us to move towards an alternative. What do you see as alternative to the ANC? You know, is that even fathomable? Are we at that point as a country where we can start, imagining South Africa, beyond the ANC, or maybe an ANC that's diluted, or an ANC that's coalescing with the DA, maybe, so that you in a sense have a combined or a joined up government of some sort. Let's start with you, Mike.
JJ, you said something very profound when I hosted you on my show, and that is that you said it's not whether you want coalitions or not, they're going to happen. And I do think at least one thing that the coalitions will do is have more eyes on the performance of government. You wouldn't be allowed to have a Speaker of Parliament who's compromised in a coalition arrangement, because the coalition partner would get tarnished with the same brush. So there's hope. There's hope.
And guys, before Mike Shem continues, what is the alternative of the ANC? If the ANC were to lose power today, what is the perfect political party to replace the ANC?
At least one thing that the coalitions will do is have more eyes on the performance of government. You wouldn't be allowed to have a Speaker of Parliament who's compromised in a coalition arrangement, because the coalition partner would get tarnished with the same brush. So there's hope. There's hope that the coalitions bring more scrutiny to what government has done. Up until now, for the last 30 years, the ANC has largely been able to act with impunity, and they have. In every respect, every time we've had the Zondo Commission and nothing has happened to the politically connected politicians who are still sitting in Parliament, many of them. And that's because of the impunity of power. That's disappearing in a month's time.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's going to make a dramatic difference to the way the country's governed.
Yeah. All right, it's disappearing, and then what's appearing? What is your conception of what could be an alternative, in your view?
I think what could be an alternative is that our politicians must start behaving like adults. Really. They're going to have to behave like adults, not to see the coalitions that we've seen in some of the metros that have been terribly destabilizing and so on. But I think...
So no one party you think will go past the 50, so they'll have to work together?
They'll have to work with somebody, because not only will no party go below 50, but according to your numbers, we talk about the biggest party having 40%. That's a big
chunk.
That's a big chunk out of their majority. And, which means that whoever they work with, they've got some real answerability. That means that people that put their name to that partnership are going to be held accountable. And I think
they could just partner with MK, then is the ANC back in power.
Can I ask you
I mean, like, if the ANC goes into coalition with the EFF or MK, it's still the ANC. Nothing has changed. The EFF comes from the ANC, Umkhonto weSizwe comes from the ANC. So if the ANC goes into coalition with any of those political parties, it's still the ANC running things after all. So the ANC will go into coalition. We can call this coalition if the ANC goes into coalition with the DA. That's when it can actually qualify for us to call it a coalition. But if the ANC goes into coalition with the EFF and MK, it's still the ANC running things.
If you believe in majority rule, do you believe in majority rule?
Sure.
Okay,
I'm a Democrat.
So you still believe that the ANC must still remain in power?
Yeah, but they're not a majority.
But you believe that they must still remain in power?
I'm saying that whoever can get more than 50% will be in power. It's not me deciding that. I'm saying it's whoever decides.
Okay, Katleho, what do you see as an alternative? I mean, you have a hammer out for the ANC, a hammer out for the EFF. You don't seem to see them for anything. What would be your ideal government post-29?
Okay, you said we're going to talk about our economy, and talking economics, we need to consider the policies that speak to economics that each party has.
Yeah.
Right? We know that ANC, EFF, and MK lean more towards communism, right? Communist ideas, right? And if we want a successful economy as South Africans, we should run away from those people. I know that a lot of people believe in these parties. I know that a lot of South Africans think that these are the parties that hold the hope for South Africa.
Yeah.
But it's not about our ideas. It's not about what we think and what we like. It's about the facts. Communism does not work. And whether they openly say we are for communism, their policies say so. The results of their policies say so. We want a successful economy. We should run away.
So run away from anything socialist, communist, run away. So you are left with DA and IFP then.
And Action SA.
And Action SA.
And
So you think those
ACDP.
that so basically you are advocating for the multi-charter. You think the multi-charter is a sensible way to go?
Absolutely.
Why? Don't you think that the issues of, for example, redress are going to be stuck, and those redress issues are the ones that are going to exclude other people from the economy? You don't think that the multi-charter may have that blind spot?
Okay, I think in everything that we do, right, as we are voting, as we are picking whatever we are picking, there's never a perfect solution, right?
Okay.
There's always what we call trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
And we need to know what are we trading off. In terms of certain people, and I believe you're talking to certain races being excluded economically, that is what you're saying, right, is the danger of the multi-party. We keep saying that, and as my partner here has mentioned, let's talk scientifically. What is the evidence that we have that makes us believe that the multi-party charter is going to exclude black people economically? Apart from what people are saying, what evidence do we have? Why do we keep saying that?
Well, they said they're going to end affirmative action.
Yeah.
They said they want to do away with BEE.
Okay, may I
Employment
respond?
equity.
I mean, like, the BEE has not benefited the people on the ground, so why should people continue to advocate for the BEE, whereas the BEE hasn't done anything for the people on the ground? The BEE hasn't done anything for the people on the ground. The BEE has only benefited the top politicians in the ANC. It hasn't done anything for the people on the ground. So of course the BEE needs to get the hell away. It needs to get the hell away, man. And you know what? When the Western Cape produces jobs, the ANC will take that statistics and say that the ANC government has actually produced jobs in South Africa. In South Africa, the unemployment rate is going down. But when you look at those figures, they come from the Western Cape. The Western Cape right now, it is the only province in the country that has been producing jobs. It is the only province that has been producing a lot of jobs in the country. So the ANC government, they will take that statistics and parade it around as if it is their achievement. It is not. It is not. So of course, man, get rid of the BEE. Get rid of the BEE. Can you point an average person on the ground that has actually benefited from the BEE? There is not a single person that I know that has benefited from the BEE. So why do you think that it is offensive when people are suggesting that the BEE should be scrapped? And the people that are talking about the BEE is not only the DA. Even Hemini Mashaba has expressed his feelings about the BEE. But you're not gonna say that Hemini Mashaba has actually expressed his frustrations about the BEE. You simply want to portray as if the DA, it is the only political party that is against the BEE. But a lot of political parties actually in the country, the black political parties are against the BEE.
Therefore, actually, they are going to court to reverse employment equity.
I mean, that's a fact.
And yes, it's a fact. Thank you for mentioning that. Let's talk about affirmative action. Let's talk about BEE. How many people, in reality, normal citizens like myself, have benefited from BEE? In reality, we talk about BEE and we make it seem like black people are benefiting because of BEE, while in reality, it is a select few that are connected to the comrades that benefit from BEE. The removal of BEE will allow all of us to come with our merits and show that, yes, I can build this bridge. Yes, I have what it takes to play this role and that role. Currently, this BEE that we are saying is helping black people, is helping a few black people, while the rest of us, because we are not connected to the ANC, EFF and MK, are left in the dark.
There is not a single person on the ground that can tell you that I have benefited from the BEE. So Katlawo is making a valid point. So who has benefited from the BEE?
Look, JJ, it's very interesting, and I like Katlawo. I think we are going to be good friends. Her arguments are purely based on a point of privilege, and I'll emphasize that. And she must take this home and sleep on the pillow and think about it. Look, the argument that you are pursuing has not spoken about the aspect of social cohesion, right? And if you are to deal with the aspect of social cohesion, you will then understand why we need to have BEE and employment equity. It's a historical fact.
Educate me.
That blacks have been excluded in the mainstream economy for some times. And to redress those things, you need to have policy positions that deals with redress.
May
Right?
I?
Yeah, right.
May I
No, I want to
respond?
come. I want to conclude. I want to
Okay.
conclude. Let me just.
Yes, I want to put
And
Mike
that's a
to come
principal
in.
position.
Yes.
The second aspect of it, JJ, is that the ANC is the movement of the people, which encapsulate in it variety of tribal, entities, tribal, entities, diversities. So. You must speak about the part that must take over South Africa must be able to have a social cohesion of this country. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem of lack of management of the
But
country.
you agree but that the ANC has failed to implement the same affirmative action, the same employment equity, the same BEE.
No, I don't agree with that.
Why don't you agree? I mean, if you take employment equity, definitely it's failed.
I don't agree. It's work in progress. It's not going to be a miracle that those things happen in a short space of time.
Yeah.
There's also resistance from private companies, by the way. So it's not only on a public space. Because when people speak about equity, when they speak about BEE, when they speak about Labor Relations Act, they speak about government, and that's a problem. The state holistically, its approach is to manage both private and public.
All right, just pack the mic, just come in there. All right, Navari, let's give the others a chance.
You mentioned a very important word, and that is redress. And that is the way I understand the point is that let's help poor people get wealthy, get out of this grinding poverty that many South Africans find themselves.
Will the multi-party do that?
Let me answer the question like this. This is my view, right? And it's not just a multi-party charter thing, and I'm going to throw this right back to you in a second. But the most important thing that this country could do right now is grow economically.
Yeah.
Right? Because with all of the policies, the discriminatory policies that we've had in South Africa for the last 30 years, whites are still at full employment. So therefore, it's not working if the aim was to make everybody equally poor, right? Let's rather focus on making this country wealthy for everybody. Let's create jobs that allows people to work for a living, the dignity of work, the dignity of opportunities. Right, the red tape. We heard from President Ramaphosa more than 5 years ago about his red tape cutter, Sipho Nkosi. I don't know, this guy must be invisible. Not one piece of red tape has been cut. Right, it's become impossible to do business in South Africa. Therefore, we've got a crazy unemployment rate, and all the redress in the world is not going to help. We are going to run out of money. We're struggling to pay people 370 Rand a month. That's a disgrace, right? It would be far better if the country had an economy that grew. Now I'm going to throw it right back. In the early 2000s, when the same ANC did have policies that were hardly pro-business, but at least they weren't anti-business, the country was growing at 5%. So I'm saying that it's not just a multi-party charter thing, it's a common sense thing, back to Katlego's point. We just need to stop being so bad. We don't even have to be good, right? Yeah. And that would have a dramatic turnaround.
Yeah.
Let's not worry about the
you're
social
convinced. You're convinced that the alternative doesn't lie in socialist policies that look at inclusiveness. For example, the national health insurance, right? I'm sure the multi-party will say no ways. Whereas if you look at the situation now, only 16% of the population is covered properly by private functional health system. The rest have to wait in line to die in hospitals that are not working and so on.
I mean, like, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? If the ANC government was competent, people would not need the medical covers. People would not need these medical aids if the ANC government was competent. So these people are talking about the national health insurance. I remember the video that I saw last week of Panyaza Lesufi talking about the national health insurance, telling people that, guys, if you are sick after 2024 elections, you can simply go to the private hospitals and you don't have to pay a cent. because of the national health insurance. These people are not talking about the carnage that they have done to our public hospitals. If our public hospitals were properly managed, people would not need the medical aids that they are paying large amounts for. All of these medical aids that people are talking about, they would not need them if the government was functioning. But today we have broken down hospitals, and these people, instead of dealing with these hospitals that are broken down, instead of fixing these hospitals and these clinics, are saying no, the people must abandon these hospitals and clinics, and now the people must go to the public hospital, to the private hospitals, and to the private clinics. This is the reason why the national health insurance does not make any sense. How can you talk about the national health insurance when you say nothing about these hospitals and clinics that are broken down? You are not fixing the problem. You are not fixing the problem.
I'm just dealing with this a health thing.
Yeah.
If you can address that about how you will make that in a capitalist situation, because capitalism itself has failed. It's good that you say communism has failed, fine. But capitalism is also a failed system, because that's what we have had so far, and what are we sitting with?
Well,
the most unequal society in the world. How are you going to fix that inequality?
You can't, sorry for jumping in
Okay,
here.
go
You
on.
can't say we're running, this is not a capitalism system that we're running in South Africa.
What are we running?
What is it?
We are running some kind of bureaucratic nightmare, right? The capitalist system allows people to run businesses easy,
Freely, without the limitations.
without limitations. It creates wealth.
Yes.
I'm not making this up. It happened in South Africa for nearly 10 years until the ANC decided to go down a different route.
Yes.
The point is, it was happening then. We were creating wealth. We were creating jobs, right? The unemployment rate dramatically decreased, and everything was at least functional. What we've got now, please don't insult the capitalist system and call this the capitalist system. This is
Look,
a
the
terrible
capitalist system has failed all over the world.
No,
Sorry
sir.
to tell you.
Okay,
It's
so-
failed all over the world.
Okay, may I?
And on your side, tell me about China, because you're saying
Okay.
communism, you have put it in a dustbin.
Okay.
China is the second biggest economy in the world. Address that for
All
me.
right. I'm going to start with the redress. You mentioned that
China-
ANC is the best.
China is not a communist. It is not a communist society. China, they preach communism, but they practice capitalism. They preach communism to their people on the ground, but the government of China, they practice capitalism. So China, it is not a communism country. They do not practice communism. They only speak of communism, but they do not practice it.
Best to have, because they are the only ones that have policies in place to bring about inequality. They have, okay, thank you. They have the things in place. For example, in 1995, or is it 1994, they brought about the Land Restitution Act, which was brilliant, right? People that could bring forth claims, they could come forth, and then their land could be given back to them. People that didn't have claims but were in need of land, they too should have been given land. But the the policy on paper and in reality is something else. They have
Do you know why?
beautiful, may I
Do you know
finish?
why?
May I finish? They have beautiful policies in place, right? But the action of it is something else. They bought those 6,000 farms saying that they are buying them from white people for the sake of us black people. But until today, the distribution to us is not taking place. I'm speaking from experience. My family was taken away from Valmanstal. And then when time came, we went to the land claims court. And then there's no one there, no white people staying there. It's free land. But when time came after our claim was said, okay, it's successful, you all can have the land back, the inefficiencies and the corruption of the people in charge ensured that people that didn't have any claim on that land now have it, and we are still sitting, no white person is there, black people are sitting there. That's one. The second thing that you mentioned is that we need to, the health one, you mentioned
Health,
about
yeah.
health.
Just give that as a case study.
NHI. Let's put NHI one side. They are rushing for NHI. They are asking for tax being just, you know what, it just lines up with the type of people that they are. Ask for more money and say that it is for a solution. What are you doing right now with the many hospitals that you have? Before you want to tell us that you want to buy 18 private hospitals,
Yes.
What are you doing with the hospitals that you have? Why is it that every time when you want to bring a solution, you want more money from people? You want to buy more things,
Yeah.
right? Why is it
But
like
let's
that?
talk about the principle
Back
of
to
I mean, like, they cannot even manage the hospitals that we have today. So what makes them think that if they buy these hospitals, then they're gonna do better? It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
HI of inclusive health system that is not reliant on the size of your pocket, Katlo.
The private sector.
I mean, like, these people could have built an inclusive healthcare system for the people by only managing the hospitals that we have. This is the only way these people could have built an inclusive healthcare system for everyone in the country. They could have just managed the hospitals that we have, the clinics that we have. Right now, the people in the country, man, people are choosing to die in their homes. People will tell you that I will not go to the public hospitals. I would rather die in my home because I know of a mess that the public hospitals are. So if the ANC wants to talk about the inclusive healthcare system for everyone, they need to start managing the hospitals that we have today. They need to start doing a better job of managing these hospitals. Then we can talk about the inclusive healthcare system.
It's not reliant on the size of your pocket, Katlo.
The private sector, the public hospital system, why is it not working? Why do we need NHI? Why can't I go to a public hospital, go give birth properly? I'm paying tax so that I can be served in a clinic, so that I can be served in a public hospital. Why can't I be served there? Why do we need NHI? If you are so great.
Will I respond to that?
No, look, it's very difficult to engage with the
Point of privilege.
Yeah, Katleho and my brother there, because I think their liberal approach to understanding of the functioning of the state is quite problematic. They argue that the state must not have anything to do with the redress of the past.
No.
So we're equal.
No, that's not
No, this guy is lying, man.
true. You're lying. That is not true. That is not true.
So what do you mean that by the fact that capitalism is not the one that we have now, you need it more? Because capitalism doesn't have involvement of the state in terms of the affairs of the public.
It does.
Let's do that. Let's do this. Let me explain this thing to you, so that you understand the context that I want to deal with the issues that is raising. The ANC is not a capitalist nor a communist organization. The ANC is the movement of the people, and its responsibility, among other things, is to liberate blacks in general and Africans in particular. From what? From what you don't want to accept the fact that there's not been a level, equal playing ground between blacks and whites for over a period of time.
We agree.
There is a need fundamentally
I agree.
to transform the economy in the interest of blacks.
And how long do they need to transform that economy? The ANC has had 30 years right now. So how long do they need? They keep talking about this transformation of the economy. So how long do these people need? So when is this person actually going to say that the ANC has failed to transform the economy so that black people can be on a better position? How long do these people need?
Mentally,
I agree.
To transform the economy in the interest of blacks.
I agree.
Blacks in general, Africans in particular. These are the people who were dispossessed over a period of time. And when you are sitting here and tell me how much apartheid government used to do well, I find it very strange.
We didn't say that. No one said that.
You can't say we. Don't speak in code.
No one said that. Literally, no one said that.
1, 2, 3 are on this panel. Speak to myself and speak to my...
I need guys, of round of time, I'm going to need your parting shot.
Yeah.
Go on, give me your parting shot.
So the point I'm trying to drive through is that the ANC, if you look at those parties that you put there, I can mention them by names. There's no party there that matches the ANC delivery record or will ever match the ANC delivery record. For one reason, because the ANC is very inclusive in its approach. The ANC approach is that we need to change the lives of many of South Africans.
All right.
But many of these parties are either private parties owned by individuals, are either tribal chauvinist parties, are either minority parties like the DA. They don't speak about majority black. They speak about few minority in their interest.
As we go towards the 29.
Okay. On paper, the ANC is there for black people. In reality, they are there for themselves. Like I said, with the land, all the taxes that have been coming in, we should have had our land back. For example, my family should have its land back.
Yeah.
Many people who lost their farms to white people, they should have their land back. But instead of doing that, they are pocketing the money. They are sitting with the 6,000 farms. Why are the farms not being given back? Are they planning to do what Robert Mugabe did and distribute the farms to his own friends? Why are we not getting our farms? You bought the farms. Why are they not being given to us? You know, in paper and in word, they are for black people. In reality, they are there for themselves.
And like the ANC like is not there for anyone else. The ANC does not serve the black people. The ANC does not serve the white people. The ANC does not serve the Indians. The ANC does not serve the Afrikaners. The ANC only serves the ANC. I guess this is what Katla is trying to say. These people are going around and saying that we are for black people. Our political party is pro-black. But when you look at what the ANC is doing, it shows you that the ANC is only pro the ANC. They don't care about anyone else in the country. They don't care about white people. They don't care about black people. They don't care about the Indians, and they don't care about the colors. They don't care about the Afrikaners. They only care about the ANC.
Paper and in word, they are for black people. In reality, they are there for themselves. Otherwise, they would not be satisfied with getting millions every year, having all those motorcades. They would say, let me sacrifice this, let me be like you, let me also take my child to a public school.
Kari,
Thank
you
you.
can catch her on a podcast and when she says, beware of the comrades. That's Mike.
I've got a very simple test for many people that are unsure where to vote, and that is, look around in just about every, it used to only be white kids, but now it's no longer. Our best and our brightest are leaving the country.
Yeah.
Right? And where are they going to? Do you see them going to China? Do you
Nope.
see them going to Venezuela?
Nope.
Do you see them going to Cuba? Do you see them going to Russia? Right? Those are those authoritarian countries that in those countries, those economies will simply never grow. You talk about China, that place has got massive economic problems. That's a whole different discussion. Where are our brightest going to and why? They're going to places that offer them the best opportunities, where their property rights are secured, where they can run businesses, where their skills can be acknowledged. And those are not the countries represented by the parties that we're talking
We're
about.
going to have to leave it there.
So, guys, what were your thoughts, man, on this discussion? What were your thoughts on this discussion? I still think that it is sad, man. It is sad that most of our people, they still prefer the African National Congress. I mean, like just like Katla said, that on paper and on word, the ANC, they are for black people. But when it comes to what they do, it shows you that the ANC, they are only there for themselves. And it is said that in 2024, the ANC still enjoys majority of the support, especially from poor black people. It is so sad. It is so sad, man. At this point, I honestly don't know what we need to say to actually make people aware that the ANC is not there for you. I don't know what we need to say at this point to actually make people aware that, guys, the ANC is not there for anyone else. They are only there for themselves. And it is said that everywhere where the ANC goes, and people still follow the African National Congress. It is so sad. Guys, please tell me what you think on the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part is subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.